The world has just witnessed an unprecedented moment in the history of the British monarchy. Less than a minute ago, an official announcement reverberated through royal circles and global media outlets alike. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. King Charles, the reigning monarch, has made a decision that is shaking the foundations of tradition and leaving the world in disbelief. Prince Harry, once second only to Prince William in the line of succession, has been officially removed from the line of succession. The implications of this announcement are staggering, and the reverberations will be felt not just within the palace walls but across nations. People around the globe are asking the same question. What exactly led to this historic royal intervention, and what does it mean for the future of the monarchy? The moment the announcement broke, social media platforms exploded with speculation, outrage, and curiosity. Hashtags trending worldwide ranged from expressions of shock to debates over the legitimacy and timing of such a monumental decision. Analysts and royal commentators are scrambling to provide insight, but even the most seasoned observers admit that few could have predicted such a decisive move. The removal of a prince from the line of succession is rare, almost unthinkable, and it raises questions about the intricate web of personal, political, and possibly clandestine factors that led to this outcome. But the story does not end with Prince Harry. The announcement comes intertwined with revelations that suggest Meghan Markle's carefully laid plans have hit an unexpected and dramatic roadblock. Sources inside Buckingham Palace indicate that her strategies, her influence, and perhaps even certain secret initiatives were considered in the decision. The headlines alone have sent shockwaves. Meghan Markle's alleged maneuvering has crumbled under the weight of royal scrutiny, leaving her plans in disarray. For those who have followed the Sussex's journey, this is a turning point, a moment of reckoning that could redefine the narrative surrounding them both. As the dust settles on this bombshell, the palace itself is a flurry of activity. Courtiers, advisors, and security personnel are responding to the unprecedented situation, balancing protocol with the urgency of managing public reaction. In the corridors of power, there is whispered speculation. What does this mean for upcoming royal engagements? How will this affect Prince William's position as the next in line, and what does it signal about the balance of power and influence within the royal family? Observers note that every decision within these walls is a careful choreography of tradition, optics, and political acumen. Yet this particular announcement seems to have shattered the expected rhythm of monarchy. To understand the magnitude of this moment, one must first recognize the historical weight of the line of succession. For centuries, succession has been a symbol of continuity, legitimacy, and stability. The monarchy is not merely a family institution. It represents the continuity of national identity, a living thread that ties past, present, and future. Altering this sequence is not done lightly. It is a decision that carries not only personal implications for the individuals involved, but also political, cultural, and societal reverberations. When a monarch intervenes to remove an heir from succession, it is a signal that extraordinary circumstances have converged, circumstances that transcend ordinary familial disagreements or private disputes. And extraordinary circumstances, indeed, seem to have been at play. Inside sources hint at a convergence of factors that made this decision unavoidable. Allegations of behind-the-scenes influence, strategic maneuvering, and attempts to shape public perception are reported to have played a role. Meghan Markle, with her history of navigating media narratives and leveraging global attention, is suggested to have been a central figure in this complex equation. Her efforts, intended to consolidate power, influence the monarchy's image, or perhaps secure a more autonomous position for herself and Harry, appear to have backfired in a dramatic fashion. The palace, valuing the integrity and image of the institution above all, reportedly acted decisively to prevent potential disruption. The decision also raises profound questions about loyalty, trust, and the intricate dynamics of the royal family. Prince Harry, once a favored son, a globally recognized figure, and an emblem of modern royal evolution, is now facing the most consequential personal and public challenge of his life. His removal from the line of succession is not merely a procedural adjustment. It is a statement that echoes through his personal identity, his public role, and his relationships within the family. Observers speculate on how he will respond. Will he accept the decision, publicly or privately? Will he pursue avenues to reclaim his position, or will he redefine his role outside the traditional confines of monarchy? Each possibility carries dramatic implications for the royal family and for the public narrative surrounding them. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle is confronting the collapse of plans that insiders suggest were carefully orchestrated over months, if not years. The specifics remain shrouded in secrecy, but multiple reports hint at strategies involving public relations campaigns, potential media projects, and calculated interactions with influential figures. Her ambitions, whether personal, financial, or political, have collided head-on with the monarchy's need to maintain authority, continuity, and stability. The result is a dramatic pause, a moment where personal strategy meets institutional power in a confrontation that has left many stunned and captivated. The global reaction has been immediate and multifaceted. Analysts in London, New York, and beyond are dissecting every word of King Charles's statement, reading between the lines for hints of broader intentions. The public, meanwhile, is reacting with a mixture of disbelief, intrigue, and intense curiosity. Royal enthusiasts are poring over historical precedents, drawing comparisons to past interventions, and speculating on the long-term consequences for the family and the monarchy as an institution. Social media debates rage, often blending fact, rumor, and conjecture, creating a digital echo chamber that amplifies the tension and drama of the moment. Every new development is dissected, every insider comment magnified, and every reaction feeds into a growing narrative of crisis, revelation, and unexpected transformation. Yet beneath the surface of media spectacle and public reaction lies a human story of ambition, loyalty, conflict, and consequence. The palace is more than a symbol. It is a complex ecosystem where personal desires, public responsibility, and historical precedent collide. King Charles's decision is not merely a headline. It is the culmination of intricate deliberation, weighing personal affection, familial duty, and institutional responsibility. In removing Prince Harry from succession, the monarch is signaling that the stability and continuity of the crown outweigh individual plans, regardless of their popularity or influence. This moment, captured in real time, is a rare glimpse into the gravity and weight of decision-making at the highest levels of monarchy. As we navigate the unfolding details of this extraordinary announcement, it becomes clear that the story is far from over. There are layers to uncover. The private conversations, the strategic considerations, the potential media fallout, and the very human emotions of those involved. Each moment, each decision, each statement carries the potential to reshape the narrative. For Prince Harry, it is a moment of profound personal reckoning. For Meghan Markle, it is the collapse of carefully constructed strategies. For King Charles, it is an exercise of authority tempered by the weight of history and the eyes of a watching world. And it is precisely this combination of personal drama, historical significance, and global attention that makes this story compelling. Viewers are not just witnessing a royal announcement. They are experiencing a pivotal moment that intertwines power, ambition, loyalty, and consequence. The stakes are enormous, the characters are larger than life, and the unfolding drama promises revelations, surprises, and perhaps even unforeseen twists that will dominate headlines for months, if not years. The scene is set for an exploration of every facet of this decision. The announcement itself, the palace reaction, the family dynamics, the public discourse, and the strategic calculations that led to this outcome. As we peel back the layers, viewers will gain insight into not only the immediate impact on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, but also the broader implications for the monarchy, for royal tradition, and for the perception of the crown in the eyes of the world. The coming chapters will delve into these aspects, providing detailed narratives, expert analysis, and dramatic reconstructions that bring clarity to a situation filled with complexity, tension, and intrigue. This introduction serves as the gateway to an expansive narrative that examines power, ambition, betrayal, and resilience. It establishes the central conflict, presents the stakes, and sets the stage for an investigation that is as much about human behavior and personal consequence as it is about institutional authority and public perception. It primes the audience for a story that is rich in detail, emotionally charged, and relentlessly engaging. And as we move forward, each subsequent chapter will peel back another layer of this remarkable unfolding drama, offering insights, surprises, and revelations that will keep viewers riveted from beginning to end. The clock has just ticked on a historic royal moment, and the ripples are spreading far beyond the gilded walls of Buckingham Palace. Prince Harry, removed from the line of succession. Meghan Markle facing the collapse of secretive plans. King Charles, asserting authority with unprecedented decisiveness. The stage is set, the stakes are sky-high, and the world is watching every move. The story that follows will navigate these turbulent waters, unpacking the human drama, the political implications, and the global fascination that accompanies such an extraordinary event. The journey begins here, in this moment of shock and revelation, as we uncover the full story behind the headlines, behind the palace walls, and behind the carefully managed public narratives. From private strategies to public consequences, from personal ambition to institutional authority, the tale of Prince Harry's removal from the line of succession and the unraveling of Meghan Markle's plans promises to be one of the most gripping, dramatic, and consequential royal stories of our time. And as we step into this story, one thing is certain. Nothing will ever look the same again in the world of royalty, ambition, and global scrutiny. The announcement came like a thunderclap in the middle of a clear sky. Sudden, shocking, and impossible to ignore. Buckingham Palace, known for its rigid formality and measured statements, had released a declaration that would send ripples across the globe. In it, King Charles officially removed Prince Harry from the line of succession, a move that, while legally permissible under certain circumstances, was virtually unheard of in modern times. As the press release hit inboxes, newsrooms erupted, social media platforms flooded with speculation, and royal enthusiasts across continents struggled to process the implications. The words themselves carried a weight that seemed to echo through history. The future of the monarchy, long considered a symbol of stability and continuity, had been recalibrated in a single decisive stroke. Inside the palace, the atmosphere was tense, electric with anticipation and speculation. Courtiers, advisors, and senior aides gathered in hushed clusters, discussing the ramifications of the announcement and ensuring that every detail of its communication was flawless. Protocol dictated precision, yet the stakes of this message elevated the ordinary procedures to a level of extraordinary urgency. The statement itself was concise but unmistakably clear. Prince Harry, by decision of His Majesty, would no longer be included in the official line of succession. Any previous references to his position were to be formally corrected across all official channels, including public records and ceremonial documentation. The historical significance of the announcement cannot be overstated. The line of succession, after all, is not merely a procedural arrangement. It is a living symbol of continuity, an unbroken chain that stretches back through centuries of monarchy. To remove a prince from this line is not just a personal judgment. It is a declaration that individual actions, choices, or behaviors may have consequences that reach beyond personal reputation and into the very structure of the nation's monarchy. Experts in constitutional law and royal protocol immediately began analyzing the language of the statement, searching for hidden nuances, potential loopholes, and precedent-setting implications. Every word was scrutinized, every clause dissected, and every punctuation mark debated, as though the very semantics of the statement might contain further revelations. The palace's official communication painted a picture of authority tempered by gravity. King Charles, long known for his measured demeanor and careful approach to public affairs, had chosen a moment to assert decisiveness and control. Observers noted the timing, a period of relative calm within royal circles, a strategic moment when the public eye was focused on ceremonial events rather than scandal. By releasing this statement with precision, the monarchy signaled its intent to manage the narrative proactively, to assert institutional authority, and to mitigate potential backlash before it could spiral beyond control. The choreography of the announcement, from internal briefing to external dissemination, was meticulous and deliberate, leaving no room for misinterpretation or delay. For Prince Harry, the announcement represented a seismic shift. The son who had once been celebrated as a modernizing force within the royal family, who had captured public imagination through his charitable work, military service, and public engagements, was now officially outside the traditional line of succession. This was more than a procedural adjustment. It was a redefinition of his identity, his role, and his future within the royal institution. Sources close to the Sussexes suggested that Harry received the news through a combination of official notification and private discussion with senior advisors, a method intended to balance formal communication with personal discretion. Nevertheless, the emotional impact of the announcement was undeniable. Shock, disbelief, and a profound sense of dislocation reverberated through the private chambers of his life. The public, meanwhile, had barely begun to grasp the full weight of the decision. Social media platforms were flooded with reactions ranging from incredulity to celebration, from outrage to analysis. Royal enthusiasts debated historical precedent, comparing Harry's removal to rare cases of succession disputes in centuries past. Hashtags circulated widely, accompanied by commentary, speculation, and even memes, as the world attempted to process the implications of a moment that seemed at once personal and historically monumental. Journalists on the ground at Buckingham Palace described throngs of onlookers, reporters jostling for position, and an atmosphere of palpable anticipation, as though the air itself had been charged by the announcement's dramatic power. The announcement also carried significant symbolic weight, particularly in its treatment of Meghan Markle. While the statement did not explicitly detail the reasons for Harry's removal, multiple sources within the palace hinted at her influence as a contributing factor. Allegedly, certain strategic initiatives, media engagements, and public statements orchestrated by Meghan were scrutinized for their potential impact on the monarchy's stability and image. Insiders suggested that the palace perceived some of these efforts as attempts to consolidate influence or to shape public perception in ways that could undermine the institution. Whether these claims are accurate remains the subject of ongoing debate, yet their mere mention amplified the intrigue and speculation surrounding the announcement. Analysts and commentators immediately began contextualizing the news within the broader framework of royal history. The removal of a prince from succession is extraordinarily rare, often reserved for matters of personal scandal, legal transgression, or profound breach of duty. In Harry's case, observers were quick to note that this was not a matter of criminality or illegality, but rather a decision rooted in the interplay of personal choices, family dynamics, and perceived institutional risk. By taking this step, King Charles underscored the principle that membership in the royal family carries responsibilities and expectations that transcend personal preference, ambition, or media attention. The message was clear. Even princes with global celebrity status are subject to the monarchy's overarching framework and expectations. The emotional dimension of the announcement was heightened by the simultaneous speculation about Meghan Markle's alleged plans. Reports indicated that her strategies, aimed at consolidating influence or advancing certain objectives, were considered in the decision-making process. These alleged plans, while not officially confirmed, are widely believed to have intersected with the monarchy's interest in preserving stability and continuity. Observers described a clash between personal ambition and institutional authority, a moment in which carefully laid plans met an immovable barrier in the form of royal decision-making. The narrative was compelling not merely for its procedural implications, but for its human drama. Ambition, influence, and personal agency colliding with centuries of tradition and institutional power. Royal historians emphasized the extraordinary nature of the moment. They noted that while adjustments to the line of succession have occurred in history, they were often associated with abdication, voluntary renunciation, or extraordinary legal circumstances. A unilateral removal by a reigning monarch, particularly in the modern media era, represents a unique convergence of authority, timing, and narrative control. In this sense, King Charles's decision is both a reflection of his understanding of the monarchy's role and a statement about the boundaries of influence for individual family members. It is a defining moment that will be studied, analyzed, and referenced for years to come. The concept of succession has evolved over centuries, shaped by laws, religion, and political necessity. The principle of primogeniture, which traditionally prioritizes the firstborn male heir, has dominated succession for most of British history. This principle was designed to ensure stability and prevent disputes that could destabilize the realm. Over time, laws were modified, notably through the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013, which established absolute primogeniture, allowing the firstborn child, regardless of gender, to inherit the throne. However, while these laws codify the order of succession, they also coexist with centuries of unwritten tradition and precedent, making any alteration a moment of historical significance. Throughout British history, adjustments to the line of succession have occurred, though rarely in such a direct and public manner. There are instances of abdication, voluntary renunciation, and political intervention that have reshaped the royal hierarchy. One of the most famous cases is that of Edward VIII, who abdicated in 1936 to Mary Wallis Simpson, a decision that sent shockwaves through the monarchy and the nation. While abdication is voluntary, the consequences are comparable. A once prominent figure suddenly removed from direct succession, altering the line for future generations. King Charles's decision regarding Prince Harry, though different in its unilateral execution, echoes this historical precedent in its profound effect on the royal family structure and public perception. Other historical examples demonstrate how monarchs have intervened to preserve the institution's stability. In some cases, heirs were bypassed due to political alliances, religious considerations, or questions of legitimacy. For example, during the turbulent periods of the 17th century, disputes over succession and legitimacy led to civil wars, exiles, and the temporary abolition of the monarchy itself. These episodes highlight the delicate interplay between personal choice, public duty, and institutional authority. Any deviation from the expected line of succession, particularly one imposed by the reigning monarch, carries not only symbolic weight but also practical consequences for governance, diplomacy, and national unity. It is also important to recognize the role of public perception in succession decisions. The monarchy exists not only as an institution but as a cultural and social symbol. Public confidence in the monarchy's legitimacy, stability, and moral authority is paramount. A controversial or mismanaged succession can erode trust and destabilize the monarchy's image. By removing Prince Harry from the line of succession, King Charles sends a message that the integrity of the institution takes precedence over individual ambitions or personal grievances. The decision demonstrates the monarchy's sensitivity to public scrutiny and its commitment to maintaining a credible and cohesive image in the eyes of citizens and global observers alike. Succession is governed not just by law and tradition but also by a set of implicit expectations regarding behavior, loyalty, and discretion. Princes and heirs are expected to act in ways that uphold the dignity of the monarchy, maintain public trust, and avoid actions that could compromise the institution. Historical cases of exclusion or adjustment often involved breaches of these expectations, whether through scandal, political entanglement, or defiance of royal norms. In this context, King Charles's decision can be seen as a reflection of these long-standing principles. Succession is both a right and a responsibility, and failure to meet the expectations of either can have consequences that extend far beyond personal impact. Prince Harry's situation is unique in the modern era. Unlike historical figures whose exclusion arose from political necessity or scandal, Harry's removal intersects with contemporary issues of media influence, personal branding, and global public attention. The monarchy today operates in a world of instant news, social media, and constant public scrutiny, where personal actions are amplified and private decisions often become matters of international debate. King Charles's decision, therefore, is not just a nod to historical precedent. It is a deliberate response to the challenges of maintaining royal authority and institutional integrity in the 21st century. Understanding historical context also requires examining the interplay between monarchy and media. Throughout history, control over the narrative has been crucial for the monarchy's survival. From the carefully staged portraits of the Tudor era to the modern orchestration of televised ceremonies, monarchs have long recognized the importance of public perception. In Prince Harry's case, media exposure, public statements, and strategic initiatives have become intertwined with perceptions of loyalty, influence, and risk. The palace's decision to remove him from succession can thus be interpreted as a move to reclaim narrative control, ensuring that institutional priorities outweigh individual media strategies or personal agendas. Comparisons with other European monarchies further illuminate the uniqueness of this decision. In several royal households across the continent, heirs have faced exclusion or alteration of their status due to personal choices, political considerations, or questions of legitimacy. For instance, in Scandinavian countries, reforms have allowed greater flexibility in succession, yet direct removal remains rare. The British monarchy, steeped in centuries of tradition and symbolic authority, treats such adjustments as extraordinary events. By acting decisively, King Charles not only adheres to historical precedent but also asserts a clear statement about the monarchy's boundaries, priorities, and capacity for self-preservation. Religious considerations have historically played a role in succession as well. The Act of Settlement of 1701, for instance, barred Catholics from ascending the throne, reflecting both political and religious imperatives of the time. While modern laws have relaxed many of these restrictions, the principle that personal circumstances, choices, or affiliations can influence succession remains embedded in royal governance. In this sense, the removal of Prince Harry aligns with a long tradition in which the monarch retains ultimate authority to determine who is fit to inherit, balancing personal merit, public perception, and institutional stability. The historical perspective also provides insight into potential future implications. Every alteration to the line of succession has ripple effects, shaping not only immediate family dynamics but also public perception, international relations, and ceremonial obligations. Future historians are likely to study King Charles's decision as a defining moment in modern monarchy, one that highlights the tension between tradition and modernity, personal agency and institutional authority. By situating Harry's removal within this context, we can appreciate both the boldness of the decision and the careful calculation that underpins it. As we consider the historical landscape, it becomes clear that King Charles's announcement is more than a personal judgment. It is a continuation of a long and complex narrative about authority, duty, and continuity. The monarchy, in every era, has faced moments of crisis and decision-making that test its resilience. From abdications and political conflicts to scandals and media scrutiny, the line of succession has occasionally been disrupted, but rarely with the clarity, decisiveness, and public attention that this moment has generated. The announcement thus represents both a historical echo and a contemporary milestone, bridging centuries of royal tradition with the challenges of a hyper-connected modern world. In sum, the historical context illuminates the full weight of what has transpired. The line of succession is not merely a family hierarchy. It is a symbol of national stability, cultural continuity, and institutional integrity. Altering that line, especially through the unilateral decision of a reigning monarch, is an extraordinary event that carries deep personal, legal, and societal consequences. By understanding the historical precedents, legal frameworks, and cultural significance, we can better grasp why this announcement has captured global attention and why its ramifications are likely to resonate for years to come. It sets the stage for a deeper exploration of the immediate reactions, personal dynamics, and broader implications that will define the unfolding narrative of Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the modern British monarchy. The moment Prince Harry received the news of his removal from the line of succession, the atmosphere surrounding him shifted instantly. It was as if the weight of centuries had descended upon his shoulders in a single crushing revelation. According to sources close to the Sussex household, Harry first learned of the decision through a private communication from senior palace officials, followed by a direct, personal conversation with King Charles. The combination of formal notification and intimate discussion was intended to strike a balance, ensuring that the announcement was both legally and personally conveyed. Yet even with the care of protocol, the emotional impact was immediate and profound. Reports suggest that Harry's initial reaction was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and a simmering undercurrent of anger. For years, he had navigated the intense scrutiny of public life, media invasions, and the complexities of being both a royal and a global figure. He had undertaken charity work, served in the military, and cultivated an image as the empathetic, modern prince who was unafraid to challenge norms. Despite all this, the reality of being formally removed from succession struck him at a personal level, reshaping the identity he had long associated with his royal heritage. Sources describe a quiet, almost stunned silence, followed by an intense private deliberation on the consequences of the announcement for his life, his family, and his public role. The conversation with King Charles, while respectful in tone, was reportedly firm and unyielding in content. Insiders reveal that Charles emphasized the principles of duty, responsibility, and the overarching needs of the monarchy. He reportedly conveyed that the decision was not a personal rebuke, but rather a necessary action to preserve the integrity and stability of the institution. Nevertheless, the human element was undeniable. For Harry, the father-son dimension added layers of emotional complexity. The prince had long enjoyed a close relationship with Charles, though it had experienced tension in recent years due to differing perspectives on media engagement, public duties, and personal autonomy. This moment crystallized that tension, forcing Harry to confront the difficult reality that familial affection and institutional authority were not always aligned. Immediately following the announcement, Harry is said to have sought counsel from his closest advisors and confidants. Discussions reportedly focused on both personal and strategic considerations: how to respond publicly, how to manage the media fallout, and how to navigate the emotional turbulence that accompanies such a dramatic change in status. Advisors encouraged him to consider measured, deliberate communication, balancing the need for transparency with the imperative of protecting his family and preserving dignity. Yet even with this guidance, the psychological weight of the moment was undeniable. Harry faced not only a reshaping of his future within the monarchy, but also the daunting task of redefining his role on a global stage that had come to associate him with both personal charisma and royal responsibility. The impact on his family, particularly Meghan Markle, added another layer of intensity to his reaction. Sources indicate that the couple convened privately to discuss the announcement, weighing its implications for both their personal lives and public image. Meghan, long recognized for her strategic approach to media and public engagement, is said to have been both concerned and frustrated by the development. Her alleged plans, which insiders suggest involved expanding their influence and crafting a broader global presence, were suddenly destabilized by the royal decision. The discussion between Harry and Meghan reportedly encompassed practical considerations, such as relocation, public statements, and media engagement, as well as emotional support, reflecting the intertwined nature of personal and professional stakes. Analysts suggest that Harry's public persona and global recognition amplify the significance of the announcement. Unlike historical figures whose exclusion from succession might have gone largely unnoticed outside elite circles, Harry's removal is a matter of international attention. Every action he takes, every word he speaks, and every public appearance will now be interpreted through the lens of this historic decision. The weight of expectation, both internal and external, creates a pressure cooker of scrutiny, requiring him to navigate complex dynamics with care. For a man who has historically balanced personal authenticity with public duty, this represents a particularly challenging moment, demanding strategic foresight and emotional resilience. The reaction of Harry's supporters and the broader public adds another dimension to his experience. Within hours of the announcement, social media was flooded with reactions, ranging from outrage and support to speculation and debate. Royal commentators highlighted the unprecedented nature of the move, while fans and followers expressed empathy and concern for the prince. This immediate feedback loop, intensified by global media coverage, created a landscape in which Harry's next steps would be scrutinized relentlessly. It also intensified the personal dimension of his response, as he grappled with both the internal reality of his removal and the external expectations placed upon him by an attentive and often polarized audience. Behind closed doors, Harry reportedly engaged in deep reflection on his identity and purpose. Removed from succession, he faced the challenge of redefining himself outside the traditional framework of royal obligations. Sources suggest that he considered the implications for his charitable endeavors, public advocacy, and personal ambitions. The announcement was a catalyst for introspection, forcing him to evaluate priorities, recalibrate goals, and confront the intersection of personal values with institutional expectations. The psychological impact of such a seismic shift cannot be underestimated, as it touches both the tangible elements of his public role and the intangible sense of self that had long been intertwined with his royal lineage. The announcement also prompted immediate logistical considerations. As a former heir, Harry had been accustomed to certain privileges, ceremonial responsibilities, and financial arrangements tied to his position. With his removal, advisors and palace officials reportedly began reviewing these elements, ensuring that all transitions complied with protocol while minimizing disruption. This process, while procedural, added practical complexity to an already emotionally charged situation. It underscored the multi-layered nature of royal life, where personal decisions, institutional obligations, and public perception intersect in ways that few outside the palace fully appreciate. Notably, Harry's reaction also included contemplation of his broader family relationships. His bond with his brother, Prince William, had already experienced strains over public statements, differing approaches to media, and questions of loyalty and duty. The announcement inevitably introduced another layer of complexity, raising questions about how the siblings would navigate this altered dynamic. Observers speculate on whether Harry might seek reconciliation, public solidarity, or strategic distance, each choice carrying significant emotional and political implications. The intersection of sibling relationships, personal identity, and public expectation adds a rich, human dimension to the unfolding drama. Throughout this period, Harry's focus reportedly remained on balancing personal dignity with strategic prudence. He was acutely aware of the need to maintain composure, manage public perception, and consider long-term consequences. The intensity of global attention, coupled with the personal impact of the announcement, required a careful navigation of both emotion and optics. Insiders described moments of private frustration, quiet reflection, and deliberate planning, all aimed at reconciling the shock of the announcement with the necessity of measured action. It is a delicate balancing act, one that underscores the unique pressures faced by individuals at the intersection of public life and historical legacy. In sum, Prince Harry's reaction was multifaceted, encompassing shock, reflection, strategic consideration, and emotional reckoning. Removed from the line of succession, he faced a profound redefinition of his identity, role, and relationship with the monarchy. His response, both private and public, is a testament to the complex interplay of personal ambition, familial bonds, and institutional authority. The emotional intensity of the moment, combined with global attention and historical precedent, creates a scenario of unprecedented significance, setting the stage for the next chapters of the story. As we move forward, we will explore the specific details of Meghan Markle's alleged plans, the insider perspectives on palace dynamics, and the broader implications for both the royal family and public perception. While Prince Harry grappled with the immediate shock of his removal from the line of succession, Meghan Markle faced a different but equally intense reckoning. Sources close to the Sussexes suggest that she had been orchestrating a series of strategic maneuvers designed to amplify her influence, solidify her position within the royal orbit, and extend her personal and public reach across global media. What initially might have seemed like calculated PR, charitable initiatives, or media appearances, however, has now collided with the unyielding authority of the monarchy, resulting in a dramatic collapse of plans that insiders describe as both shocking and unprecedented. Meghan's approach to influence has always been multifaceted. Throughout her public life, she has demonstrated a keen understanding of the media landscape, leveraging attention to build both personal brand and social impact. From carefully timed interviews to high-profile philanthropic initiatives, she has operated with a precision that suggests a long-term strategy. However, sources indicate that some of these moves, especially those undertaken after the couple stepped back from active royal duties, were interpreted by palace insiders as overreaches, actions that risked undermining the monarchy's stability or projecting an image of unilateral control. This perception, whether fully accurate or not, contributed to the decision to remove Harry from the succession, effectively halting the trajectory Meghan had envisioned. Reports suggest that Meghan had plans that extended far beyond typical royal engagements. Allegedly, she sought to orchestrate global media campaigns, selectively leak information to sympathetic outlets, and cultivate influential alliances with celebrities, media executives, and philanthropic figures. The goal, insiders speculate, was to build leverage, shape narratives, and maintain public relevance independent of Harry's official royal. Furthermore, insiders suggest that the collapse of her plans has sparked tension within the Sussex household. Private conversations reportedly reveal frustration, a sense of betrayal, and urgency to reassess strategies in real time. Meghan, who is known for her meticulous planning and media savvy, is said to be weighing options ranging from public statements and media interventions to personal recalibrations of her global engagement strategy. The intersection of personal ambition, institutional constraint, and public attention creates a scenario of heightened intensity, forcing rapid decision-making under conditions of extreme visibility. The palace, according to sources, viewed Meghan's initiatives through the lens of institutional risk. Every high-profile appearance, public statement, or strategic alliance was analyzed not only for its immediate impact but for potential long-term consequences on the monarchy's stability, reputation, and perception. In this context, the decision to remove Harry from the line of succession functioned as both a corrective measure and a preventative one, effectively neutralizing potential disruptions before they could escalate. Analysts note that the palace's intervention is a stark reminder of the enduring power of the institution and its capacity to shape outcomes even in the modern, media-saturated era. In addition to institutional constraints, Meghan's plans were reportedly challenged by unforeseen public reactions. Media speculation, public debate, and social media scrutiny intensified the visibility of her initiatives, adding pressure and complicating execution. The palace, acutely aware of the optics, acted decisively to prevent a scenario in which personal strategy could overshadow the monarchy's broader narrative. This intersection of media attention and institutional authority underscores the complex environment in which Meghan has operated, where personal ambition and public perception are constantly intertwined and subject to rapid recalibration. Some reports indicate that Meghan may have anticipated challenges but underestimated the decisiveness of the monarch's response. Strategic planning often involves risk assessment, and insiders suggest that she may have believed her media acumen, public support, and celebrity alliances would provide a buffer against institutional intervention. The swift and unequivocal decision to remove Harry from succession, however, demonstrated that certain thresholds of power and authority remain beyond negotiation, highlighting a fundamental tension between personal strategy and royal prerogative. The fallout from the collapse of Meghan's plans extends beyond immediate strategy. Insiders suggest that it has affected relationships with advisors, allies, and collaborators. Individuals who were aligned with her initiatives reportedly faced uncertainty about their continued involvement, weighing loyalty against the practical reality of diminished influence. The situation has created a ripple effect, prompting reassessment across networks of influence, media partnerships, and philanthropic collaborations. The convergence of personal ambition, institutional authority, and strategic recalibration illustrates the complexity of operating within and adjacent to the monarchy in the modern era. In summary, Meghan Markle's dirty plans, as palace insiders have described them, collided head-on with the authority of King Charles, resulting in a dramatic recalibration of influence and strategy. The removal of Prince Harry from succession undermined the structural foundation upon which her initiatives relied, creating both personal and professional consequences. This moment highlights the tension between personal ambition and institutional authority, illustrating how even well-crafted strategies can be disrupted by the enduring power of the monarchy. As Meghan confronts the collapse of her plans, the unfolding story promises to explore not only the immediate fallout but also the long-term implications for her role, influence, and relationship with the institution she once sought to navigate with precision. The palace, often portrayed as a bastion of tradition, ceremony, and restraint, rarely allows the world a glimpse behind its gilded doors. Yet in the wake of King Charles's historic announcement removing Prince Harry from the line of succession, insiders have begun to reveal details that offer a rare and sometimes shocking perspective on the events that led to this unprecedented moment. Courtiers, advisors, and long-standing staff members, many of whom have spent decades navigating the delicate balance of duty, discretion, and loyalty, have provided accounts that shed light on both the decision-making process and the internal dynamics of a royal family under intense pressure. Sources describe a flurry of internal discussions in the weeks leading up to the announcement. Meetings reportedly included the most senior members of the royal household, legal advisors, and select members of King Charles's inner circle. The purpose was clear: to assess not only the immediate ramifications of Harry's actions but also the long-term impact on the monarchy's stability and public image. Insiders emphasized that this was not a hasty decision but a calculated one, developed over months of careful consideration, analysis, and consultation. Each option was weighed meticulously, balancing personal relationships with the imperatives of tradition, duty, and institutional authority. One particularly revealing detail involves the palace's perception of Meghan Markle's influence. According to several sources, her actions were scrutinized at the highest levels, not merely for their public impact but for their potential to shape internal dynamics within the royal family. Reports suggest that palace officials monitored media campaigns, public appearances, and social engagements, assessing whether these activities aligned with or threatened the monarchy's strategic objectives. Certain initiatives were reportedly flagged as overly ambitious, potentially disruptive, or misaligned with institutional priorities. While the palace maintains that it does not interfere in personal matters lightly, the consensus among insiders was that a line had been crossed, necessitating decisive intervention. Additional insights reveal that some palace staff expressed concerns about the sustainability of Harry and Meghan's approach to public engagement. The couple, according to these accounts, had developed a pattern of strategic media interactions that blurred the boundaries between private ambitions and institutional responsibilities. Courtiers noted that while previous generations had navigated the delicate interplay of public visibility and royal discretion, the Sussexes' approach represented a new, more aggressive model, one that challenged traditional expectations and amplified scrutiny. These assessments, when combined with legal considerations, historical precedent, and the potential for public controversy, created a compelling case for direct action by the monarch. Inside sources also describe a series of informal conversations and off-the-record observations that contributed to the decision-making process. Senior aides reportedly observed changes in the couple's behavior, shifts in priorities, and subtle attempts to influence public narratives. These observations, though not publicly documented, were taken seriously within the palace due to the potential for reputational risk and media amplification. Insiders suggest that the cumulative effect of these behaviors, over time and across multiple channels, shifted perceptions from cautious concern to a decisive need for intervention. The legal and constitutional dimensions were another crucial factor discussed behind palace walls. Advisors analyzed the formal mechanisms available to King Charles, evaluating the scope of his authority, potential challenges, and precedent for action. While the monarch retains ultimate authority over succession under certain conditions, any decision of this magnitude carries inherent risk. Sources indicate that the legal team presented comprehensive assessments, weighing the implications of removing Harry against possible responses from both the prince and external stakeholders. These analyses reportedly reinforced the conclusion that immediate action was necessary to safeguard the institution's integrity and prevent further complications. Palace insiders also revealed a more personal layer to the deliberations. Conversations with those closest to King Charles suggest that the decision was not purely institutional. It also reflected his concern for the family's cohesion, public perception, and the psychological impact on the next generation. Advisors note that Charles was keenly aware of the delicate balance between asserting authority and maintaining familial relationships. The removal of Harry was framed not as a punitive act but as a measure to protect the broader interests of the monarchy, though insiders acknowledge that the emotional impact on both Harry and Meghan would be significant. Another critical revelation concerns the role of private correspondence and confidential briefings in shaping the decision. Multiple sources indicate that internal memos, communications between senior aides, and private reports contributed to a comprehensive understanding of the situation. These documents reportedly highlighted instances where actions or statements by the Sussexes diverged from established expectations, providing concrete examples that informed the monarch's deliberations. In some cases, the reports included media monitoring data, analyses of public reaction, and historical comparisons, offering a multidimensional perspective that balanced perception, precedent, and potential consequences. The palace's approach to communication also emerged as a central theme in insider accounts. Staff reportedly debated the timing, phrasing, and channels for delivering the announcement, recognizing the global attention it would command. The choice of wording was particularly important. It had to convey authority, legitimacy, and clarity while minimizing unnecessary controversy. Insiders suggest that King Charles personally reviewed and approved the final statement, ensuring that it reflected both legal precision and emotional resonance. The meticulous planning underscores the gravity of the decision and the palace's awareness of its long-term implications. Insider accounts further suggest that contingency planning was a critical component of the process. Advisors prepared for various scenarios, including potential public backlash, media speculation, and responses from the couple themselves. These contingency plans included strategies for managing interviews, press briefings, social media reactions, and public appearances. By anticipating potential developments, the palace sought to maintain control over the narrative, reinforcing the monarchy's authority while mitigating reputational risk. The sophistication of this planning highlights the seriousness with which the decision was undertaken and the depth of consideration applied to every potential outcome. Some palace staff also shared anecdotal insights into the interpersonal dynamics at play. Observers reported subtle shifts in the atmosphere, including tension among senior aides, guarded conversations in corridors, and discreet monitoring of interactions between Harry, Meghan, and other family members. These human elements, often invisible to the public, are described as crucial in shaping perceptions of risk, influence, and alignment within the household. Insiders suggest that these dynamics were as influential as formal assessments in guiding the monarch toward a decisive course of action. Finally, palace insiders emphasized that the decision was designed to reinforce principles that have long governed the monarchy: duty, loyalty, and institutional responsibility. While the announcement was undoubtedly dramatic and personally significant, it reflects a broader commitment to maintaining continuity, authority, and public trust. Sources note that the monarchy operates as both an institution and a family, and that balancing these dual roles requires difficult, sometimes painful, decisions. The removal of Prince Harry from succession is portrayed not as an act of personal animosity but as a deliberate assertion of these enduring principles, aimed at ensuring the stability and resilience of the crown. In summary, palace insider revelations provide a rare and compelling perspective on the forces that shaped this historic announcement. From detailed observations of Meghan Markle's strategic initiatives to meticulous legal and procedural analyses, from personal reflections by the monarch to carefully orchestrated communications, these accounts illustrate the complexity, deliberation, and gravity of the decision. They reveal a monarchy operating at the intersection of tradition, modernity, and global scrutiny, where personal ambition and institutional authority collide in ways that are both fascinating and consequential. As we continue to explore the story, these insights set the stage for understanding public reaction, legal considerations, and the broader implications for the future of the British royal family. As the news of Prince Harry's removal from the line of succession and the collapse of Meghan Markle's alleged plans spread, the reaction from the public and media was immediate, intense, and global in scale. Social media platforms lit up with commentary, speculation, and debate, each post feeding into a swirling vortex of opinion and emotion. Twitter exploded with hashtags, Instagram stories and reels dissected every nuance of the announcement, and YouTube creators raced to break down the implications, often within minutes of the official statement. The digital sphere, always attuned to royal developments, became a real-time stage where public sentiment, curiosity, and outrage collided. In the United Kingdom, newsrooms scrambled to cover the story from every angle. Traditional media outlets published front-page coverage and special broadcasts analyzing the unprecedented move. Experts in royal history, constitutional law, and media relations were interviewed repeatedly, providing context and weighing in on the broader implications. Headlines ranged from shock and disbelief to speculation about the consequences for the monarchy's stability. In newspapers and on television, pundits dissected the timing, phrasing, and subtext of King Charles's announcement, seeking meaning in every word. The consensus among many commentators was clear. This was not a routine adjustment. It was a seismic event that had the potential to redefine public perception of the royal family. Across the Atlantic, media reactions were equally fervent. American outlets, accustomed to covering celebrity and political drama with equal intensity, framed the announcement as both a royal crisis and a media spectacle. Analysis focused not only on the historical significance but also on the human drama, particularly Meghan Markle's alleged plans and Harry's response. Cable networks ran extended segments, featuring commentators speculating about the couple's next moves, possible public statements, and the potential impact on their global influence. Social media users engaged with these narratives, amplifying debate and fueling a constant cycle of commentary, reposting, and reaction videos. The immediacy of global attention highlighted the intersection of royal tradition and modern media dynamics, where the personal and institutional collide on an unprecedented scale. Public reaction was intensely polarized. Royalists praised King Charles for asserting authority and safeguarding the institution, framing the decision as necessary to preserve stability and continuity. Others expressed empathy for Prince Harry, emphasizing the personal toll of his removal and the perceived harshness of the move. In forums and comment sections, heated debates unfolded, with users questioning whether the decision was justified, whether Meghan's influence had been overestimated, or whether the monarchy's response reflected institutional rigidity. This polarization underscored the complexity of public sentiment, revealing the intricate interplay between historical precedent, personal loyalty, and contemporary expectations of fairness and transparency. The role of celebrity and media networks in shaping public perception cannot be overstated. Insiders and analysts noted that Meghan Markle's high-profile engagements and media presence had both amplified her visibility and heightened scrutiny. Her strategic positioning as a public figure intertwined with Harry's royal status created a feedback loop in which every action was examined, interpreted, and amplified. The media's coverage of the announcement thus served both to inform the public and to shape the narrative, presenting the story as a collision of power, ambition, and institutional authority. Analysts emphasize that in today's media landscape, perception often becomes as consequential as fact, influencing not only public opinion, but potentially the internal dynamics of the royal family itself. Social media platforms, in particular, became a battleground of narratives. Memes, videos, and commentary proliferated rapidly, blending humor, outrage, and speculation. Some users highlighted historical precedents, drawing parallels with past succession controversies, while others focused on the personal drama, emphasizing Meghan's alleged plans and Harry's reaction. Engagement metrics, including likes, shares, and comments, surged, reflecting the global fascination with the unfolding story. Analysts pointed out that the speed and intensity of social media reaction amplified the stakes, turning a carefully managed announcement into a viral spectacle with unpredictable consequences. Public opinion also reflected broader cultural debates. The announcement sparked discussions about privilege, responsibility, and the evolving role of royalty in a modern, media-driven world. Some commentators framed Harry's removal as a necessary assertion of institutional authority, reinforcing the idea that royal status carries obligations that extend beyond personal desire. Others interpreted Meghan's alleged strategies as emblematic of modern ambition and influence, raising questions about how individuals navigate legacy institutions in an era dominated by media and celebrity. These conversations, while often speculative, contributed to a rich tapestry of public engagement, reflecting both fascination with personal drama and serious contemplation of institutional authority. The international response added another layer of complexity. Royal watchers in Europe